Hello, everybody. Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and those of us who know better, to Sad Poets Doorstep Club. Tonight is going to be jam-packed. We've got 8 incredible open mic performers and 2 absolutely smashing headliners for you. It's going to blow the virtual roof off all of your computers. We're not liable for any damages. I can only say sorry because this is going to be mega. Welcome everybody. This has been the build-up has just been so incredible, and we're finally here. And I get to look at all of your amazing faces and do the thing that I do, which is host, compare, say anything that comes into my head and make it look like I know what I'm doing. It's going to be great. So yeah, tonight is a night of very sensitive mental health conversation. We're going to be talking about a lot of heavy stuff. A lot of poems will be dealing with a lot of rough issues. So this is your official content warning for discussion about mental health, depression, suicide, everything of that nature. It's going to be, use your own discretion. Poets, when you are going to be performing, if there's anything particularly rough, if you can let us know before the poem, and then anyone can mute if they need to, and then wave your hands, give us a signal for everyone to unmute, and we can continue. Excellent stuff. That's the ramble out of the way. I am going to get us kicked off with a poem, and then I will throw to our first performer. This doesn't have a name. When God sends me to hell, I want him to hesitate. Stare down the list of my transgressions the same way my mother mourned my history grade. Oh, the nerves are getting to me already. Wonderful. I want him to stroke his beard and ponder whether remaking one of his creations is a sin. Or maybe the end of the journey is the vision he had all along. Maybe we are born works in progress. Maybe we are born with this spark to create or defile or innovate. Maybe we were meant to have the ideas that weren't coming to him. Otherwise, surely would have started as spacemen, right? When God sends me to hell, I want him to consider the alternatives. Ponder which is better, saving queers or burning them. Thank you very much. Oh, let's get on with it. The first performer in our incredible open mic lineup is Laura Graham. Laura Graham is a stand-up poet from Leeds and the 2021 National Slam Poetry finalist. She has been shortlisted for the Leeds Poetry Festival competition, featured on BBC Radio York, and performed at events such as the Vagina Festival and Sonic Youth Weekender. Please, everyone, give it up for Laura Graham!
Hi, everyone. My first poem is a perimenopausal love poem, and not everyone knows the difference between menopause and perimenopause. So just to explain, menopause is technically the 6 months after your last period, and perimenopause is the 10 years leading up to that, where you get into anxiety, poetry, and wild swimming. And that's what this poem's about. And it's called I Love You, But. I love you, but will you please fuck off? It's not personal. Well, it is a bit, but I need to hibernate. I'm in a chrysalis state. Dinner might be late because doing things doesn't feel that great. I love you, but will you please fuck off? I'm brooding like a teenage goth. I'm tired like a sleepless sloth. I'm fragile like a bulb-scorched moth. I love you, but will you please fuck off? For 18 years, I've gazed at your beautiful face, and now I just need space and time and silence. I love you, But the sound of you masticating makes me feel death would be liberating. It's a full system reset I'm operating. It's me 3.0 that I'm creating. So please fuck off. I love you, but I need to fuck off. I need to go swimming with fleshy-thighed women whose estrogen levels are dimming in the crystalline waters of don't give a shit. I need to be with people who don't need me. I just need to be. I love you. Did I already say fuck off? My brain is melting like a midsummer chocolate log. Words are evasive like a neighbour's lost dog. My mind is clouded with low-hanging water vapour, whatever that's called. I love you. We are bound together through shared memories, responsibilities, dependencies. The gesture of an artist chased down a Paris street. An impression of Real Housewives on Pica with Frank Sidebottom that no one else gets. Our son's first steps. You bring me tea in bed, clean up my gin-soaked vomit, find it hard to find the words, but quietly sort out the mortgage. Your heart is the metronome of mine. It might appear to your untrained eye that I'm mostly doing now, but I'm putting the emotional bins out. I'm doing free, fast-track therapy. I'm having a beautiful affair with me. So please top up my Yorkshire tea and then kindly, please, fuck off. Thank you. The next poem is called Bat. That's all I'm going to say about it. Your vagina looks like a bat that has folded its wings and hangs from the roof of a cave, said my son, 4 years old, was taken aback. The most beautiful thing ever said about my lady crack. Thank you. I've of course told him now that it's a vulva. I think it's sunk in, I'm not 100% sure. It's work in progress. Next poem. I was born in a northern town that's been voted the 4th crappiest in the country, and I grew up during the time when AHA were massive, and I always just thought life would be better if I was Scandinavian. So this poem is called I Want to Be Scandinavian. Want to be a Swedish dancing queen, want to feel the vibes of the Stockholm scene. I want to live in the happiest place on earth, wish Nordic shores were my place of birth. Want to live where equality's not an anomaly, want gender neutral snow clearing policies. Want to hand knit a jumper from an Oslo market, want to ski down the cheeks of Morton Harket. Want to drive a car with a heated seat, want to drink my booze strong and neat. Want to climb a glacier before I'm dead. Want to eat my butty on one slice of bread. Want free childcare in a socialist nirvana, while down in schnapps in a lakeside sauna. Want to be carried on the shoulders of a frisky Finn, little bit archaic, but I'm a lazy bint. Want to dance by a field in the midnight sun, breathing salty air and sovereign wealth fund. Want to loaf where they prize safety in cars, want to ride all night on a guy called Lars, want to spend my days baking cinnamon buns, want to change my name to Laura Graham, son. Want to design a perfect designer life, a smorgasbord of what's good and right. Is it really much to ask, this thing I'm craving? I just really, really want to be Scandinavian. I don't think it is a lot to ask myself. It really should have happened. Okay, last poem. It's for all the midlife people out there, and it's called Midlife Manifesto. Here we go. I will take up space, not just as my once whittled waist escapes its restraint, but because I exist. I will not jump aside for strangers. I'll sit alone in the pub, happily impervious to the heat-seeking rays of male gaze. I will keep dancing with no one is watching caveat. I am a real life midlife goddess. You may watch if you want. I'll drink more water, draw deep bursting breaths of song-filled air and gaze at stars. I will not buy a live, laugh, love sign, but religiously follow this home base holy trinity. I will not judge people who buy live, laugh, love signs. I will not judge people for oversharing in team meetings by using words such as overshare. I will not judge my achievements and find them lacking. I'll sort out my pension. I'll get that smear test. I'll learn the difference between a list poem and just a to-do list. I will hold space, listen to older people, entwine their memories with mine, be their custodian, their witness, their archivist. I will notice the pure presence of a smartphone-free octogenarian and put down my phone. I will not hold back, sharing decades-won wisdom as the space between thought and word elongates. I will give myself space. Understand that annoyance at adults with grandparents is unprocessed grief. People with 2 kids, the same. Adults with great-grandparents are taking the piss a bit. I'll stop putting off things I don't do because I won't do to the utmost perfection. I'll find joy in imperfect but done. Like my glorious hedonistic meandering youth, like this manifesto for a magnificent mid-life. Thank you.
Woohoo! Oh, that was fantastic, Laura. Thank you so much. Oh, that was absolutely beautiful. Expertly done. I do apologize, but we're not going to be unmuting between sets tonight. We're just on the lookout for Zoom bombers and making sure that no one gets the opportunity to ruin the event. So show your love in the chat. I know a lot of you have been doing that already, but just throw all of your praise to Laura. If you want to spam C's in the chat, those can be like clicks or capital C's for claps or whatever you want to do. But yeah, thank you so much. Next up, we have Malin Fox. Malin Fox is a trans, aero-ace, disabled, autistic poet and spoken word performer from York, with work covering subjects around mental health, the queer experience, and occasionally random things like cats, horror movies, and tongue twisters. This is the person I started my poetry journey with all those years ago. Please give it up for Malin Fox! You are still muted.
Hi, how are you doing? How's things? How are you? When someone greets me with a question on how either trans, our race, autistic, mentally ill, permanently exhausted being am, I freeze. Mentally, I stagger backwards as panic flashes across my brain, scouring it clean of all coherent thought other than this is a trap. If you've never tried to pin down to find a thought in a panicked mind, there's no way I can help you understand the sheer exhaustive effort behind it. My face closes down. It is the proverbial swan, my mind, its feet frantically working below the surface. And the truth is, if I answered your supposedly polite interest with an honest response, if I told you truly how I am, your face would get that look. You know the one, the, oh shit, what have I done? Look, as you back off carefully while I unburden myself of existential angst and anxieties and worries that plague me daily. Like, do you really want to know how I am, or is it just a polite rhetorical greeting? And why do you care? I'm pretty sure everyone hates me and the world is going to shit and I'm still unable to function normally and no one seems to care. And am I screwing up my kid? And what if I never reach surgery weight and the ice caps are melting and the walruses are stealing the lemons gig and no one seems to care and plastic is a problem and banning plastic is a problem and we're fucking ableist bastards? And what if my schizophrenic friend will do? What will my schizophrenic friend do if there is no more bottled water, so there's no more water that's safe to drink and nobody seems to care? And what if I'm not enough for my partner? And what if my mother finds out what my brother did to me and the rainforests are burning and our rights are being stripped-minded? Those with money and power want us to remain impoverished and compliant and nobody seems to care. And oh my God, I hurt. And will I ever not want to die? Will I only not want to die once I'm actually dying and our lifestyles are built on exploitation and nobody seems to care? And there's sex trafficking systematically reinforced because with the power to, those with the power to stop it are those who are profiting from it, and that's true for pretty much every injustice. And nobody seems to care. And fireworks turn the world into Dresden and trap people in their homes, and fireworks turn the world into Dresden and trap people in their heads, and balloons kill livestock and balloons kill wildlife, and skylightings burn people and animals and forests and buildings, and no one seems to care. And I can't keep these thoughts in my head because it hurts too much, and I can't keep these thoughts out of my head. And I'm good, thanks. And you? So, yeah. I thought I'd start with one that really set things off. I wasn't sure where to go from here. I had a couple of choices. But I'm going to go with an old one that is a response to a guy from like my second ever poetry night who had a poem that had pretty much every single ism in it. Every single ism. Anyway, it's called Reasons, Not Excuses. I have fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, low-grade allodynia, chronic depression, generalized anxiety, and autism. I have BPD and CPTSD, trichotillomania, so it's lucky I love it when my head is shaved, dermatillomania, rhinotalaxomania, and I can't keep a job. It's too exhausting, and I'm sure the others hate me. It's sad, I know. It's also astonishing how often it's revealed to be true. Last time I had a job, I was signed off sick and I didn't leave the house for 6 months. There are many and complex reasons for my agoraphobia, one of which is claustrophobia. Weird, right? But it's possible to feel trapped in an open space when surrounded by people. My nose bleeds every day. It has done since September 2012. My feet hurt, not because of the weight they carry, but because of the strips of skin peeled away like skeins of anxiety being shed, each strip relieving the tightness in my chest a little bit more. I sometimes wish I could slough my anxiety like a snake sheds its skin and leave it hollow-eyed and empty to silently turn to dust. But I sometimes worry without it, it's me left hollow-eyed and empty. I hurt everywhere, all the time. Someone once told me that on a bad day, they have to take the stairs slowly, one at a time. I wish. I would kill to have that be a bad day. On my bad days, I can't get out of bed, painfully shuffling between there and the bathroom, wishing not that I was dead, but that the world would just go away. If I have something I want to do, it takes days of preparation to ensure I have the spoons to do it. I was a part-time student because I didn't have the energy for full-time. Shit, I barely had the energy for part-time. When I had deadline, I had no energy for socializing, cleaning, cooking. If I want to do something, all else falls by the wayside. And afterwards, I'm wiped for days, aching, tired, yet still plagued by insomnia. So if I sit my fat ass on my sagging sofa for days on end, watching crap on the TV and letting life pass me by, never close to the dreams I had as a child, well then, that's none of your fucking business. So yeah, those last few lines were essentially rewrites of lines from his poem, but there you go. I won't name him, that's just not something I want to do. Plus I can't remember his name now, he's pretty much unimportant, and I've lost one I wanted to finish with. There it is. I might have time for another after this, actually. I'm going to read this in honor of the fact that in a week's time, I will have had my first tea shop. It's called Plus, and it's a couple of years ago, Writing Proud did a month of prompts, and I'm lazy, so instead of writing a poem for every prompt, I wrote one poem with all the prompts in. So yeah, called Plus. Coming out isn't easy, and it's something you do more than once. It's something you may find yourself doing for the rest of your life, because we aren't always flying our flags, and sometimes the truth can put you in a dangerous situation. But the queer thing is, it's also so very, very healing to be who you truly are. We often pin our hopes on the kindness of others and carry our fears as a shield, but we can dance amongst our labels and find ourselves bathed in sunlight, and we discover more about our identities. The journey can be hard. It certainly won't be straightforward, but in each of us is a strength of nature helping us to fight onwards, make each arrival a new discovery, a great gateway to a better future, one that is brimful of love. It's true that peace and harmony are often in short supply, even amongst the community we are part of, but we will find our people. And I won't ask you or expect you to forgive the shitty people, because the gatekeepers and the bigots don't get to define who this movement is for. Don't just be the letter, embody the spirit and be bold, because visibility is important. If you're lucky, your family love you regardless, but if not, then your friends are the family you choose, and I'll be your shoulder if you need it, because you shouldn't hide from being yourself, not for anyone. It started with a riot. It's okay to celebrate and wrap yourself in rainbows, but don't forget our history, and don't forget to bring your wrath alongside your pride, because we deserve better than we've had. And actually, I'm left with 15 seconds, so that's me done. Thank you.
Woo-hoo! Oh, thank you, Mel. Oh, absolutely killer as always. 100%. You bring it every time. Thank you so much. Okay. The next poet. Honestly, one of the highest requested poets among my team when we were choosing lots for this event. And yeah, sorry, no pressure there. Loraine Mponela is a mother, migrants' rights campaigner, autodidact poet, public speaker, comedian, and community organizer, among many other things. She is the current chairperson for the Coventry Asylum and Refugee Action Group, a peer-led self-help organization based in Coventry. Please welcome Loraine Mponela!
Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel privileged actually to be here. Thank you. So my first poem is called I Was Not Born a Sad Poet. I was not born sad. Nobody is. That would be mad. I'm a sad poet because of the circumstances that life's deals that put me on the edge. I live on the edge of the society of the law, not because I want it, but because I have become it. I'm a label with a cause, but filled with another purpose, and sometimes I'm sad. Sad for decisions not being made in time, sad for years of waiting, not knowing what, sad for living on charity when I have hands and the brains to fend for myself. Sad for many others like me who take their own lives because of the gloom in their eyes. I could be a happy poet, happy to be alive, happy for health and sunshine. But someone has switched off the lights. I can't see the sun, not hear the happy birds as I listen to my own thumping hearts that exists in the fear and sadness of a looming mental health state of 7 years of inactivity and degeneration. I look sad because my sadness is no longer inside. It has become my signature, the car drawn where sad poems and thoughts are chained to calm my trembling spirit, which has been denied of sleep and restfulness both day and night. I'm sad that I have to fight for morsels of food and audiences with important people who control my life and make decisions as to who I am and who I can be. I'm a sad poet, but I could be a happy poet. I'm sad now, but not always. I'm more than that. I am human with a million emotions, but now pulsating under the sad banner because of the decaying mental health of me and my friends. Help me become better and not sad. The second poem is talking about death. So this is one of the asylum seeker. Yeah. It's the death at Heaven Tree. Few years back, my brother hanged himself here. Hope he now finds peace and resting in peace. The bushes around Heaven Tree are suicide lock, so no one can ever access the space anymore to end their life. Before he killed himself, he caressed many ropes, investigated the potency of tablets, trawled the internet in search of a less painful end. I would argue that he was dead before thinking about death. Something inside of him had died, but he was not resting in peace. His peace had been taken away. In death, he could be reunited invariably with his peace. Perhaps what he could not find in life was patiently waiting in death. I sometimes wonder, is he dead or living in another dimension, in a dimension I can't access? Does it keep all the goodies like peace and emotional stability, those things I'm finding to be so scarce around here? Rest in power, Sofiane Sadani. My next poem is called Times I've Talked to Myself. I have long conversations, battles within my head, not heard by anyone, inaudible, but real as day. I have asked myself, what kind of life is this? Living like a caged animal chasing normalcy, every avenue closed. I have asked this, why keep me in chains as if I'm an animal ready to spring and kill? I'm only a human. I want not more than my fair share of life, yet you stifle my life. But my voice shall echo far and wide within these walls. You may ignore me, but I hear myself talking even in my sleep, saying just these words. I'm just a human. My next poem is called We Are Dying. We are dying in isolation, alone and forlorn, with not much change, with not much hope. Even in death there is, they don't matter. We are dying, there's no inquest, there's no investigation, like a useless life has deservedly just gone and no one needs to know. We are dying, our trauma is always downplayed, wars and bullets we witnessed and abuse flying towards us have made us feel unworthy, unloving, undeserving. We are dying, we leave behind orphaned children paralyzed by their meaninglessness of their own lives. Everything about us is ignored. We are dying, the hand of oppression is heavy, but it needs not muscles to lift it off. Come out, shout, we are dying. Sing the names of the deceased, let the world know that they too once walked this earth. Say their names, remind the world of their lives, cut short lives that mattered to us. We are dying. Beat the drums, drum the call with a silene, not to war, but to a new level of consciousness that says we are humans too, although the hostile environment says we are not. That we sing in defiance and call for recognition that our lives matter, if not to anyone, to us. Break the silence. We too are humans, documented or not. Spread the message of love. We are dying. We are dying. We are dying. My next poem probably the last one, is called Thank You to the Pen. Waiting and enduring, waiting for and on love, swooning with hunger for a taste that no one else thinks it's worthy, cringing at the sound of walking feet in the street, straining to hear conversations of strangers, lest they be talking about me, paranoid, afraid, shivering from inside, from stories of pain and hunger, enduring for freedom. Smelling the air for that familiar smell that says, you are free at last and free indeed. Your endurance was not in vain. Say thank you to your pen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Loraine. Oh my God. Thank you. That was so incredibly powerful. And like Joelle said, so incredibly necessary. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Matt L.T. Smith. He's an alum of Barbican Young Poets and the poetry lead on Anvil Art's Finding the Words. His work has appeared on BBC Radio 3 and the Apples and Snakes Black Box series. Matt's poetry explores multiple sclerosis and mental health and the intersections that lie between. Please give it up for Matt L.T. Smith!
Hi everyone. So my set tonight is going to delve quite deeply into chronic illness. Like the thing that has kind of marked my year is that I was diagnosed with MS this year, and it's been kind of interesting the effect that that's had on my mental health and the joy that we try to find in spite of that. So that's my set. I'm just going to go straight into it. A neurologist flips a coin into a well. On one side of the coin is a head clear of lesions. On the other is the point in the spine where man shed his prehensile tail that I would surmise from experience was likely hacked off by some wayward immune system that declared with drunken confidence, this isn't supposed to be here. I spent 5 years with the thermometer for an eye, watching heat linger like breath on cold glass. Notice how the steam from a roast dinner turns into a fog so thick my left eye can't make out my face in the mirror. The MRI shows no white matter lesions on the brain. I still wait for the chime of metal hitting stone to ring out, cut through the soft hum of living. When dinner gets cold, the coin finally reaches the bottom of the well. It doesn't make a sound. My body becomes the site of a silent accident. Friends place flowers between the 9th and 10th thoracic vertebrae where my wayward immune system whispered, this isn't supposed to be here. Mum sits at the foot of my bed and gently pats my feet the way she would when I was small and poorly. I tell her I can't feel it. I think something trite like I'm losing touch in a world without touch, smirk to myself. I remember the last time I hugged a friend in parting at arm's length as she nervously laughed, I don't have it, I promise. Before I stepped onto the tube, entered the tunnel, and alighted a year later, birthed breach from the womb of an MRI, numb. I float down hospital corridors. I float down streets these legs have known since they were small. Legs still in bed, street out the window, street on a screen. Another friend suggests we go on a virtual walk on Street View. Long before we knew each other, we spent a lifetime in the same place and she's curious to know where I live, so I show her roads unfamiliar to her feet. Ground which has become a stranger to mine, my feet have become a stranger to me. I float. A one-shot, a ghost. I show her my front door. In the end, it doesn't really matter how the coin landed. There was a head clear of lesions. and a spine with the tail hacked off, and the vertebrae marked up. And this was always going to happen. On the day I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, I found a care package on my front doorstep from my friends, filled with things I love. Terry's chocolate oranges, Ferrero Rocher, a plush Tom Nook, my own furry little landlord. And it takes me a moment to even question how they knew my address. I showed her my front door and I knew I am supposed to be here. Thank you. This next one, it's after a phenomenal poem on chronic illness, which I will let people know about afterwards, by a brilliant poet called Laurie Ogden. So it's written after her. It's also written after The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, so people who see those links. So this one's called Trying to Forget My Own Name. What if the worst comes? If someday this sweet reverie ends? I've only ever known myself from the neck up, head bobbing on the ocean. I always thought I'd grow into the world, that at some point salt water wouldn't lick at my lips. Can an ocean be any size other than too big and still rising? I've stopped feeling the bottom. I've learned to sink is to know a body, know the iceberg, know numb legs in the cold, cold waters kicking frantically. I repeat the mantra she gave me that kept me above water for years. Swim and forget its name. I float. I am trying to forget my own name, first and last initials. Why did my brother name me M? Why did he wake the windfish? The great whale hanging in the sky above me. It makes me question if I'm sinking. I'm still treading water. Is it a trick of the light, or is the sky just another ocean to drown in? Is the whale who bears my name struggling to breathe just as much as I am? There is only horizon and nowhere to inhale. I float. Drift upwards to the whale through what I once thought of as air. We soak in the same waters. We used to dream of an island, now only glimpsed in memory. I say our name as if in prayer. A voice sings from the whale. Hold my hand. Think of me. And I fly. Thank you.
Oh, damn. Oh, Matt. Oh. I've got to tell you, I have experience with MS. My grandmother lived with it for the entirety of the time that I knew her. She was bedbound before I started having a memory. And yeah, that was incredibly powerful stuff. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, close to tears already, like Joelle said. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you. And with that, it's time for our first headliner. UK Poetry Slam Champion 2020. Former Roundhouse Poetry Slam champion and author of his debut collection, Blackish, Tyrone has worked across England with poetry in a variety of ways, including performing, teaching, and peer mentoring. He was nominated as the Editor's Choice for Best Spoken Word Performer in the 2018 Saboteur Awards and was a semi-finalist of the 2020 World Cup of Poetry. This man is my dungeon master. This man is your first headliner. Give it up for Tyrone Lewis!
Dungeon Master will always sound so weird without much more context, but I'm also completely here for that. That works. Hello, I am Tyrone Lewis. I'm here to do poetry, and also I'm here to plug my book. It's Blackish. You can buy Blackish. It's here. It is a thing. There'll be links after the event, I am sure. And as you can attest, as all my hinge dates can attest to, I am very easy to find on Google. So if you need to find out any information about me, I am very easy to find. It's the thing now, but as much as I'm plugging the book, the first poem I'm doing is not in the book. The first poem is one of the few poems I've wrote in the last 18 months. And whilst I haven't yet tried to think of writing a second book, yet I'm aware my publisher is on this Zoom call, but whilst I haven't yet properly thought of doing a second book just yet, if I did do one, I know that what the book would be called. I know this would be a title poem from the book. This poem is called Too Black, Too Furious. This poem is so black, it was being racially profiled before I even wrote it. This poem was being looked over for jobs despite having all the relevant qualifications and experience. And this poem is pretty for a black poem. This poem has curves and an arse, and this poem is so black it has cornrows and dreadlocks and an afro and extensions and a weave. This poem exclusively eats jerk chicken and plantain and watermelons and just drinks orange soda and rum and ginger beer. This poem is so black a police officer murdered it on video. This poem is so black it comes from the country of Africa. This poem is so black, it comes from the country of the Caribbean. This poem is so black, its middle name is the N-word. This poem is so black that we can't pronounce its real name, so we're just going to call it Kevin. And this poem is exotic. This poem is so black, Scarlett Johansson wants to play it in the biopic. And this poem loves anime, specifically Naruto and Dragon Ball Z. And this poem's favorite superhero film is Black Panther. And everyone mentions Get Out to this poem. And this poem is so black, a police officer murdered it on video and now it is trending on Twitter. This poem is so black, people are surprised it likes country music. This poem can play bass. This poem is good at sprinting. This poem is good at basketball. This poem is good at long distance running. And this poem can't swim. This poem is so black, its dad left it. This poem is angry. This poem is mad. This poem is a thug, and this poem used to be in a gang, and this poem always carries a knife with it, and this poem is so black, it keeps being asked to be that one black poem in a set, and this poem makes most of its money during Black History Month, and this poem is so black, a police officer murdered it on video, and now it is trending on Twitter, and now people are protesting, and this poem is so black, it was killed before it could. And that is poem number 1 for you there. Next up, moving to one of the oldest poems in my repertoire. I know it was based on when I was 22. I feel like I must have wrote it a year or so after that. And as with all of my poems, they all have some vague level of a reference in the title. This poem is called My Dinner with Gary. We each spend 5 minutes staring at a Nando's menu, even though we both know what we're going to order. We spent the last 9 years not talking to each other, so what's a few more seconds? I guess I got my stubbornness from him. Inherited it along with his last name and oversized feet, and before he can make any more comparisons, he speaks. He doesn't sound like me. But he's offering to pay, so we'll let it slide. He orders the same thing as me, even down to the heat, and it's worrying how normal this all is. We trade small talk in between mouthfuls, skillful, avoiding big questions and even bigger answers. We're not there yet, or at least I don't think we are, but then he asks how mum is. And I'm not sure how to answer. I'm not sure what kind of answer he wants, and fine seems to suffice. And I even throw in good to add in a bit more color, and he seems satisfied. Doesn't pry, just accepts it. It's like he expected it, and we're halfway through now. And that's when he brings up Damari, calls him my brother, and I choose not to correct him and say half. Says that he's good in school, like me. Says that he is creative, like me. Says that he likes films, like me. And he keeps on talking, but I'm not paying attention to what he's saying. Instead, I'm thinking back to a month ago when he posted a picture of Demario on our Facebook wall, captioned with how proud he was of his son. Now, I can believe that me and Demario have a few things in common. I'm just not sure if a dad is one of them. We're 3/4 of the way through the meal now, and that's when he said how he'd been trying to track me down for ages. Had tried to track me down through old acquaintances, old phone numbers, and old addresses, and I guess this means we're out of small talk now. He says that he never gave up trying. Before I can even question him, he goes to his pocket, pulls out a wallet and takes out 2-year-old me. I'm crinkled from the years, but still smiling, and so is he because he's finally found me again. I don't want to deny him this moment, so instead, we asked the couple at the table beside us to take our picture. That night, he'll go home and post it on his Facebook wall, caption it with "Happy birthday to my eldest son, Tyrone. Hope you have a blessed day. We've got a lot of catching up to do." Now, I don't think that he's ever going to be my father, but I guess I could be his son. When I was writing the book, one of the things I was kind of very aware of was like, what are the poems to put in there? What are the topics and things I'm writing about? And like, I was realizing as a whole, like I could have a whole, at least section of the book, if not a whole book in itself, of just here are dad poems from all over the years and how they've changed and stuff. And I've been doing them for years. I've been doing poetry since I was 13, which means I've been doing poetry for 16 years now. I've got a lot of dad poems in there. And I've got a mum who is very, very supportive and comes to so many of my poetry nights and all that kind of stuff, and is cheering and loves what I do and hears the stuff and thinks it is all really, really cool and great and it's lovely. But she'll also go, it's another poem about your dad who's not been here. Another thing about your dad who's also still not here and stuff. So where's my poem and all of that? So this one's about my mum. She taught me sarcasm before she taught me how to walk, made sure I knew I was a Tottenham fan before I knew my times table, and she showed me Star Wars before she showed me how to dress. And my mother has a TARDIS heart. It may not look like much on the outside, but best believe it is bigger on the inside, and I have been lost. Done all of its hallways for space and time and still keep finding new doors to explore. And I am sorry, Falcor, but her love is more never-ending than your story. It's more unbreakable than your movie, M. Night, and it is serving more realness than any look I have seen served on the main stage of RuPaul's Drag Race. And I'm sorry, but that does include you, Simone and Bimini. See, my mother is serving more realness than you could expect, and it's really hard to believe that her heart has ever been broken. And yes, I know it skipped a couple of beats in high school, but I think all those crushes did was soften it. And it's got a lot of love for Idris and Denzel and a bit of Will and all of Adrian Lester, but I don't know if my father was the first one to let into it. Maybe he helped her fix it. Kept it in place up until the divorce, but after that, I expect there must have been a couple of cracks, but no stray shards been strewn across our living room floor. No stray splinters have fallen into our dinners. If there were any pieces missing, then my mother has kept them well hidden. I mean, between all of us here in this Zoom call, I kind of think my mum's a magician. I mean, she kept appearing and reappearing all of my football matches and all my poetry nights, and she kept me believing that she was 27 up until I was 11. And scratch that, my mother is a superhero. She doesn't need any spandex, but Kevin Feige is currently working on producing her own Marvel standalone film. Scratch that. My mother is a wrestler and currently on the longest undefeated streak in WWE history, surpassing both Goldberg and Asuka, because I've seen mum hurt, but I've never seen her beaten. Scratch that. All of you here on the Zoom call, I'm calling out right now, my mum would be all of your mums. No, scratch that. My mum would be all of your dads. No, scratch that. My mum's at scratch. My mum's a record scratch. My mother has a TARDIS heart. It may not look like much on the outside, but best believe it is bigger than the love that she receives. And I am trying to make up for it, but I'm too busy being shit. I keep spending my nights swimming in Stella instead of coming home to her. I keep trying to buy smiles, ignoring the ones that she gives me for free, and I keep fucking up my life, knowing that she'll always be there to clean up after me. And in this moment, I've never found Blue and Elton John more relatable, because there's a word I'm trying to say to her that's proving so hard right now. So instead, here's a poem. This one's about my mum. Thank you. one of the joys of doing Zoom gigs for that is a level of, because obviously it's a different level of energy and different level of engagement, it gives me a chance to do different poems. Like I love performing. I perform up and down the country, which is a freaking blessing and a half. But like I definitely fall into a repertoire of like, these are the poems that I know I can do, always get the same reaction, and I feel comfortable saying them. And like, as much as I love the book, there are definitely some poems that are just like, I don't want to say it out, it doesn't just quite fit in my voice saying it out loud sometimes, but in having friends buy the book, other people buy the book, this is one of the poems that comes up quite a lot as people's favorites, and I am happy that they're loving it. I'm confused though, because I almost never say it out loud. It's the weird one of like, that's your favorite poem from the book? Like, I like it. I like all the poems in the book, but this one, okay, they like it. So this one is called Tottenham Court Road. At the Tottenham Court Road bus stop just near Primark, a man in a faded blue shirt, 2 sizes too big, finished kissing a woman. He then stood back and told her that he loved her. They let the bus drive on without them. When he said it, all she could do was stare. He stared back, and then her mouth turned into a smile, and we'd discreetly started to make a crowd around them, growing less and less interested in buses, readjusting bags so we were comfortable enough to experience this moment. We just watched them stand there. She stared at him like he was her mother's roast cooking, Sunday roast, light on the vegetables but heavy on the meat, the one her mother used to make when she was 7 to tell her that everything was going to be okay. He stared at her like she was the first sunset he saw at Bournemouth Beach, the night his dad told him he planned to marry his mum and asked for his blessing. They looked double my age. He showed it more than her, wore clothes that used to fit him years ago, wore them as a memento to the man that he used to be. His backpack hung from his left shoulder, its weight forcing him to lean a little. She had no backpack anchoring her down, but leaned with him so she could mimic his look. She wore jeans for comfort rather than fashion, went practical with her bag, saved her style for her face, decorated it with golden earrings that demanded to be commented on at least by, or at least looked at by bystanders, but everyone else seemed too busy actively trying to save this as a memory, ignored buses as 29 and 134 and 24 and 176 drove by. Our days were suddenly less important than these 2 people. I've never been more jealous of a man. Wished I could wear his Asian skin, have his brown hair starting to grey. Wished I could be his 5'9" size, be as stocky as him. Have those eyes in front of me. I've never been more jealous of a look. With the ease of her doing it. I don't know how, but Tottenham Court Road was silent. All of us wishing that maybe we could have a moment like this for ourselves. For us, this was special. For them, it was just a Tuesday. Next one I'm going to do, which I've kind of like not vowed to do more regularly, but I feel somewhat obliged to do it more regularly. So content warning here for grief. This is a poem I wrote last year. Marie Curie, the charity, got in touch with me to write a poem about lockdown and grief, and timing wise, I was dealing with something similar at the time. So this poem is for Dean McKee. This is called Everybody Hates Grief. For Robin, it's been a struggle. Constantly gnawing at her, grief refuses to leave her alone. It invited itself to the funeral even when the rest of her family and friends couldn't attend and had to watch online. Abdul has been feeling lifeless in the living room ever since grief cold called him, and no amount of shielding was able to protect him from this. Grief dragged all the words out of Tyrone's mouth and left his body numb, unable to operate, to feel, to move for 24 hours. The next day, he went back to working from home, and grief visits him in different guises. Sent him the odd email he wasn't expecting, suggests itself on YouTube as a friend he might know. On Facebook, it's part of Tyrone's life now. Apart, he's learnt to accommodate. And sometimes grief isn't poetic. It just hurts and hurts and hurts. And whilst we're in lockdown, it feels like grief has nowhere else to go but stay with you. And grief doesn't observe social distance and doesn't wash its hands. Sometimes grief just sucks. And we go on because we have to. Uniting in memory over loved ones no longer with us. And Robin and her girls have traded beer gardens for webcams. £6 glasses of red have now become bottles from Tesco's, and they drink and share stories of the past, have grown to accept virtual hugs over the real thing, allow grief in on the call, but make sure it keeps his mic muted throughout. Abdul keeps ordering takeaways and Amazon deliveries, and as the essential worker that grief is, grief always keeps on delivering. Abdul's coping. He's finding some comfort in retail therapy over the real thing. And Tyrone writes, knows grief only came to visit after a friend he hasn't seen for 2 years was taken from him, and was surprised at how intrusive grief was annoyed that grief took over his house until he saw that grief invited over remembrance, and while trading tales over WhatsApp in lieu of drunken strolls down memory lane just doesn't quite hit right, they still help us unite. And yes, sometimes grief just sucks. Whenever you lose someone, of course it will. So we take time to remember them. We need time to remember them. Time to let grief turn into love. Ensure that their memories live on. Ensure that we can leave memories for others to live on that'll be worth grieving over. Thank you. And here is the warning sign to say that the content warning for that one is finished now. Let's see where I got. I actually wrote down a set list for once, which is very un-Tyrone-like, but I've got a set list and a timer and everything today. I'm actually almost organized for once. But given that poem and the seriousness of that, we're going to a potentially less serious poem. This poem was going to be a series of tweets, but then I realized it had to be a whole poem. Also on that, to go back to a conversation from earlier, it was mentioned list poems and to-do list. This is a list poem here, and I'm very aware that Tyrone writes far too many list poems. I don't write in form much, but the main form I seem to go back to is a list poem because I love a freaking list poem. This one is called Man Walks into a Bar. Man walks into a bar, says ouch, blames women. Man walks into a bar, gets into a bar fight. Man walks into a bar, gets annoyed that the blonde who was there before him gets served first. Man walks into a bar and apropos of nothing starts telling you how his favorite film is Fight Club. Man walks into a bar and performs a poem about how much he loves natural looking women. Man walks into a bar and performs a poem about how much he hates women wearing makeup. Man walks into a bar and performs a poem about men and hopes he gets praised for his wokeness. Man walks into a bar for a comedy night and laughs at all the dick jokes, but then gets annoyed that the one female comedian didn't do relatable material. Man walks into a bar after holding a door open for the woman. Woman walks through and says nothing. Man says, well, aren't you going to say thank you? Man walks into a bar and slaps woman on the ass. Man walks into a bar, starts complaining about his ex-girlfriend, repeatedly refers to her as female. Man walks into a bar, starts complaining about his ex-girlfriend, repeatedly refers to her as crazy. Man walks into a bar, starts complaining about being single. Man walks into a bar and hears woman complaining about her ex and tells her that she deserves better. Man walks into a bar, he thinks that he is better. Man walks into a bar, is confrontational with all the patrons, then loudly complains about how shit the atmosphere is. Man walks into a bar and trips over the weight of his own privilege and blames the staff. Man walks into a bar and apropos of nothing starts telling you how his favorite film director is Quentin Tarantino. Man walks into a bar and then proceeds to lecture you about why your choice of drink is wrong. Man walks into a bar, his hands are in his pockets because obviously all of his clothing comes with pockets. Man walks into a bar and orders a drink and at some point leaves it unattended and nothing bad happens. Man walks into a bar and his elbow knocks over his own glass and he's pissed off at how long it takes someone from behind the bar to come and clean up his own mess. Man walks into a bar and buys you a drink you didn't ask for, then gets offended when you don't leave with him. Man walks into a bar, is bought a drink by another man and doesn't leave with him. Man walks into a bar, buys it, then takes credit for the previous owner's achievements. Man walks into a bar, starts masturbating on all the tables. Woman yells, "What the fuck are you doing?" Man goes, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." Tone. Man walks into a bar for a first date. He isn't worried about if he's going to get home safe. Man walks into a bar for a fifth date. He isn't worried about if he's going to get home safe. Man walks into a bar and gets blackout drunk. He isn't worried about if he's going to get home safe. Man walks into a bar. He's never worried about if he's going to get home safe. Man walks into a bar, then takes the night bus home. With that, as we're still on the list poem section, we're doing Tyrone's most used list poem. It is also Tyrone's most performed poem next. Yeah, it's called Grind My Gears. There's too many vegan poets. There are too many vegetarian options on a Nando's menu, and there are too many healthy options on a McDonald's menu. There are too many types of beer, and there are too many types of wine. There are too many types of alcohol. There are too many people addicted to alcohol, and there are too many of my friends addicted to alcohol. And there are too many nights where I have been addicted to alcohol. And there are too many nights we can no longer mention, and there are too many people we can no longer mention, and there are too many vegan poets, and there are too many comic book stories. There are too many Superman stories, and there are too many Batman stories, and there are too many Spider-Man stories, and there are too many Spider-Man films for that matter. Now, actually, there are too many Spider-Man origin films to further that matter, though I did really, really, really enjoy Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I think it's one of the best films that's ever come out in a while now. This really is really, really good. But also, there are too many white people in Egyptian films, and there are too many people defending white people in Egyptian films, and there are too many Michael Bay films. And there are too many explosions in Michael Bay films, and there's too many explosions, and there's too much bombing in the real world. And there's too many people fighting over which bombing is more important in the real world. And there's too many vegan poets, and there's too many people dying. There's too many pictures of people dying. There's too many pictures of people who look like me dying. There's too many people who look like me dying. There are too many news stories breaking on Twitter. There were too many fake news stories breaking on Twitter. There were too many hashtags on Twitter, and I don't want to be one. And there were too many SpongeBob memes on Twitter, and I'm still retweeting every single one of them. And there are too many vegan poets, and there are too many people making vague statements in their poems. And there are too many vague statements being made in this poem. And there are probably too many lines in this poem. And again, it's been freaking 7 years of this. There's too many nights where I performed this poem. But in my defense, look, there's too many poetry nights. There's too many good poetry nights. For example, if you're in London on the 26th, I'm doing a festival called High Tide Festival. Do come down to that. Also, I'm in Liverpool on October 7th. So you don't come down to that if you're around there. There's too many good poetry nights, and there's too many bad poetry nights. And there's too many average poetry nights. There's too many nights. There's too many days. There's too many weeks. There's too many months, there's too many years, and there's too many man, and there's too many men ruining the world. And there's too much wrong with the world to be able to list it all inside of one poem. There's definitely too many of us that keep on happening. Oh, and of course, there's still too many vegan poets. I am almost out of words now, and especially for a 25-minute set on Zoom, it's just me talking for 25 minutes, which is intense. Like normally there's a back and forth of an audience, there's none of that here, it's just me talking. So to round this all up, last poem, I don't perform it that much, but it's in the book Blackish by Blackish. I've seen people sharing links in the chat, so buy the book, we'll do links afterwards and all that kind of stuff. It's, yes, do the thing. Last book, I've been Tyrone Lewis. This poem is called Never Going Back. He's 15 and convinced he's gonna be a tragedy. He takes so many stereotypes that at this point an early death feels more like a self-fulfilling prophecy. He's comfortable with it. Has grown to accept this death sentence called black skin, a shared death sentence with his black kin, a fast approaching death sentence. It's just the black thing. He wants it to be public, newsworthy. Kept seeing other black boys' obituaries masquerading as newspaper headlines and articles, kept switching their names out for his, kept imagining how he'd look in ink. He kept taking selfies, good ones. wants to make sure when they write about this young Black boy's death, he'll have a good picture to go with it. And when he dies soon, he wants them to think him good. And he's 15 and he's tired that his loud love for life gains him questionable looks on every bus he ever rides, always aims to sit at the back, not for convention, but to be away from everyone, more coping mechanism than attempt to be cool. The number of Black friends he has is directly proportional to the number of white people who've made monkey noises at him. He's been called racist 3 times this year and will take 11 years to formulate a nuanced response to how wrong that is. Even when he does, he still won't listen. And he's 18 and feels like he has to like Afro Samurai, Vince from Recess, or the Black Power Ranger. He's Bounty and Oreo, but never Bourbon, and he's not got the prerequisites to be Black enough. They remind him of that daily, accuse him of bleaching his skin with comic books and musicals, often confuse him for closeted or kind of gay. He's not afforded the luxury of just being camp, and he is never Black enough, never going to be Black enough, doesn't eat enough plantain for that, doesn't have enough aunties for that. His mouth is too unfamiliar with spices for that. And he's 20 and he keeps on getting the nod. And he's 15 and asked if he has any greens on him, and he's 18 and do you rap? And he's 23 and he's asked if he has any greens on him, and he's 15 and told he should use lip service to his advantage, and he's 24 and being asked if he has any greens on him, and he's 27 and he's just glad that he's made it this far, and he is still not Black enough, never will be Black enough. They keep saying it till every "you're not Black enough" turns into "you're all the same," and they're not all the same he, but it doesn't matter. And they're not all the same he, but they keep being mistaken for each other, and they're not all the same he, but they might as well be. And I'm 18 and I don't want to be a cliche and write about race. I'm 21, I don't want to be a cliche and write about race, and I'm 29 and I'm just trying to act like me. I'm not trying to act Black, whatever that be. I'm still not totally in love with my skin, but that's mainly because there's too much of it. Predominantly around the stomach area, and I can't rap. I'm pretty shit at rhyming. I have no rhythm or sense of musical timing. I've never listened to a full Kendrick Lamar album. I'm sorry about that. But I have listened to most of Little Mix's back catalogue and One Direction's, and I have that all saved on my phone. And I only have one tongue in my mouth. Flavorless, stained by being around white privilege for 29 years, and I have a ginger cousin who spent more time in Suffolk than anywhere in the Southern Hemisphere, and they will keep telling me I'm not Black enough, or they keep telling me I'm a Black man with every... What do you mean you don't listen to reggae? I don't know. I didn't know you were actually born here. Do you rap? Do you have any greens in you? I bet you can dance. I've seen Black Panther four times. It's so good, right? Oh my God, Get Out is amazing, and I don't think I'll ever be comfortable in my skin. It's exhausting having to remind people that I'm more than just a stereotype, and I'm waiting till Black mediocrity becomes a thing. Because constantly striving for Black excellence just to be taken seriously is so draining. And I'm hoping that there are more options open to me than being either a tragedy or a prodigy, because I don't think I fit into either of them, no matter how much people's expectations try to stuff me in those coffins. And if that's what the world wants me, then I am sorry. I'm going to keep acting like me. I'm not going to act Black, or whatever you define that to be. Thank you.
I have no words. Thank you so much, Tyrone. That was absolutely top tier. That was beyond top tier. You are absolutely beautiful. Thank you very much for that. All right, we're going to take a 10-minute break, go to the toilet, get a drink, have a fag, whatever you need to do. Be back in 10 minutes. I'm going to chuck some music on. Have fun. All right, everybody. Let's recenter. Back in the room for the second half. This is going to be great. I'm going to kick us off again with another poem, and then I will get straight into the performers. So, like Tyrone, this is earmarked for a titular poem of whatever I do next. I don't know. Second collection? I don't know. We'll see. But if there is one, this is the title poem. And it's not a mental health poem. Well, it kind of is. in the middle a little bit, but it's either that or I just self-diss a lot. There's not much difference. Anyway, this is softcore. I am a serial blusher. Beats have been known to turn shades of me when flattered. When you picked that up, you threw compliments like arquebus shot, pin cushioning my fight or flight, reveling in my uncertainty until you cracked a jar of a smile. And I knew then that you were wearing me down, cutting off my vestigial doubts to massage the broken nerves underneath. And that's the day I learned that my hand was made to hold yours. My cheek, fashioned over millions of years of unrandom chance to cushion your lips as they make landfall. My brain is a work in progress. The idea of loving me is so alien that dancing on the rings of Saturn sounds like a regular Friday night. Kicking up dust trails and knocking back moon rocks like shots. I'm standing on the top rope, about to moonsault my stocks, about to let the lights out, get them seeing spots. I value my freedom more than this plot, but you're doing a fine job of making me a little less sure of that. Carving out earthen dams to divert this magma flow off course, the diegetic soundtrack of self-sabotage stemmed before we pass the point of no return. Because I kind of just want you to trace the lines of my tattoos with your fingers as we lay there. And if this is the cliff, I will hurl myself off it. Sometimes it's easier to quit while you're ahead. But these days I feel like I'm perpetually behind. Sometimes I find blood on my fingers. What I'm saying is that my brain doesn't keep up. The record skips and a beat gets missed and how the song doesn't make any sense. So I cling to what I know. That I am a kaleidoscope in every way that matters. I am a serial blusher. Sometimes I find blood on my fingers. Thank you. All right, moving swiftly onwards with our first performer of the second half. Mitra is a non-binary punk poet, artist and music journalist based in Hull or Manchester. Born in India but raised in Yorkshire, they have spent their life merging two cultures into one 5-foot body. Please welcome Mitra.
Just a content warning for this first poem, rape and sexual assault. He was drunk that night. That's not what he's like. She's a liar, a whore, just a northern dyke. If your mate's a rapist, what are you going to do about that? Push it to the back of your mind when you next have a chat. Your band wants to support victims of assault, yet you've got his dirty secret rotting in your vault and you try to justify it. Ask for the evidence. You can't see your mate living out a sentence, but it's all right. You won't do that. 3 women come forward. It's rumor, not fact. You can see it in his eyes. He's not the same bloke, but you still spend the nights up snorting his coke. You say he's so kind, he's done nothing to me. It's been blown out of proportion. There's nothing to see. Are you not tired of this game of pretend? How does it not drive you round the fucking bend? You're tying a blindfold tight round your eyes when every accusation is just another surprise. You can see it in his eyes. He's not the same bloke, but you still spend the nights up snorting his coke. You say he's so kind, he's done nothing to me. It's been blown out of proportion. There's nothing to see. Rumours of rape resound off your drum, but jamming with his guitar is your idea of fun, and the band's picking up. You're getting somewhere. So she asked for it, right? What did she wear? He was drunk that night. That's not what he's like. She's a liar, a whore, just a northern dyke. And she sees you on tour, can't get away from his face. You've tarnished her image. You're a fucking disgrace. And when it's all over, nothing will change, because no one seems to care that they're sharing a stage with someone who clawed down her pants in lustful rage. She sees her own friends singing praises to a rapist. A blackened church, her crushed fist. Why did it have to happen like this? It's an act of violence lurking under your banned silence, but you swallow the secret, wipe off the sweat. Smile across at him as he ups his poker bet. He's lining his lips with cheap lager, concocting a story of faster, harder. And it leaves a taste in your mouth more bitter than beer. So you numb the guilty thoughts with more of his gear. It's hard. You've known him for all those years. Every childhood memory salts her tears. It's a twisted game of cat and mouse. How can you leave him when you both share a house? You brand her vermin, but he's your tomcat. If your mate's a rapist, what are you going to do about that? Thank you. That was my first poem. Okay, so the next one is called Pirates, and it's not as depressing as the first one. So, Pirates. Your back is an umbrella, a shield from the warm shower, passion fruit scented petrichor spews from the open mouths of half-empty gel bottles, twisting into a pole that presses into our shimmering physiques. The dirt on you dies with each scrub of my soapy hands. Even with vision clouded with mist, I see strands of darkened hair sticking to your forehead. We wear coats made of cling film and cling to each other like lovers in a movie marked with tragedy. You turn around and a torrent slips past your shoulders, drenching my face. I splutter, reach out, blindly grabbing at your waist to steady myself. We are laughing and flailing, a slippery spectacular, shining in this steamy space like stars. My hands form a crescent that shifts down my face to soothe stinging eyes. I step on your foot by accident. You either don't mind or don't want lather leaking between your lips. Shampoo shackles, one eye shut. My mouth pulled northeast as my left eye peeks out into the storm that we have trapped in this tub. It finds the lighthouse of your body looming over me. You laugh when you say I look like a pirate. As I burst out laughing too, I think, God, I would walk the plank for you. Thank you. My next poem is, I've focused a lot on music. I'm a music journalist, so this one is called You Call Yourself Punk. God Save the Queen has turned to God Save the Scene. Our heroes turned rotten, dead Kennedys in cahoots with the FBI. Your music needs to take note from John F. and fucking die. Now they sue over songs, their knees turn to jelly over Mitt fucking Romney. 50-year-old millionaires living in LA, your left-wing legacy begins to fray. Lyrics no longer ironic. Passion no longer chronic, irritating. Anarchists turn idols, sellouts to the system of commercial nihilism. Silent on racism. Anti-fascist for a day when cameras come out to play. A black flag has turned white in surrender. You used to represent the resentment of the working class youth. At best, you're just a liberal championing a corrupt voting booth. You're just boomers with no boom, erring, edging the establishment like a dom to a dick. Guess your riches taught you to bootlick. Your music means nothing unless you are doing something. Will you wipe the dust off your combat boots? Or stay silent as the police shoots? Don't act like there's nothing left to do. You call yourself punk? Fuck you. Thank you. My last poem is called The Temple, and it's about recently coming out as trans. I come from a family of evangelicals, of heaven and hell, nothing too radical. No space between, no Catholic-style purgatory. God made man and woman. There's no such thing as non-binary. I believed it. For years, there was only one truth, one God, one body, one life. You learn to love whatever he crafted between each leg. You have no say in creation, no matter how hard you beg. for something other. You're either sister or brother. You can't be other. There is no other. Options dissolve like communion on a child's tongue. A child who wasn't Catholic but missed lunch and could do with the extra calories. A secret is released, is swallowed into a stomach that gurgles out some forbidden gospel. I'm a rock star on Ash Wednesday. I use a finger to smudge black around my eyes and imagine a look born from burnt books. I get scandalized looks when I shave my head. My exposed scalp brings shame to me. My grandfather would probably say I'd lost all my beauty if he wasn't dead. My parents would probably wonder if I'd ever be wed. You look like a man. Good, I said. I wanted to be the prodigal son, but forget it, there's no grace for the brown daughter who had premarital sex. I looked down at each sagging tit. Remember the words, your body is a temple. Nurture it. Thank God for these holy genes. Thank God for Matthew 13. Not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down. Mum, even Jesus said that the temple will fall. Let this temple fall. I don't want to be Jemima anymore. Thank you. That's my set.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Jay, so much. That was absolutely incredible. Oh, yeah, I'm still reeling from that last one. Oh, wow. Non-binary solidarity as well, and punk solidarity as well. John Lydon can fuck off. Oh, absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. The next poet, Leanne Moden, is a Nottingham-based poet. She's performed across the UK and Europe, including WOMAD Festival, the Edinburgh Fringe, So Far Sounds, and Bestival, and she was a semi-finalist at the BBC Edinburgh Fringe Slam in 2019. Her pamphlet, Get Over Yourself, was published by Burning Eye Books in 2020. Please welcome Leanne Moden!
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm so delighted to be here. I've enjoyed everything so far. It's been such a brilliant evening of variety of poetry. So thanks for having me as part of that. To start off, I was just a little bit worried that we'd already had so much poetry performed, but nobody's read the terms and conditions. So I thought I would just read us the terms and conditions. Terms and conditions. Thank you for choosing poetry, an unlimited subsidiary of literature, beauty, truth, and showing off. In order to use poetry, you must confirm that you have heard and accepted the following terms and conditions. You confirm that you have read and understood this insurmountable list of very difficult poets and that you agree to them and their binding nature towards you. If you cannot comply, you may not use poetry within 100 feet of a university campus. You also warrant that poetry is truthful, correct, and complete at all times. Even when it contradicts itself, talks in circles, or ends in an incomprehensible question. What happens when I accidentally the poem? You do not need the consent of your parents or guardians to use poetry, but you will need to check with Roger McGough. I can give you his number after this. We may occasionally change poetry for legitimate reasons. For example, to improve the existing functions or to add new functions or to stop people writing poems about writing poems. If we make significant changes to poetry, we will notify you in a manner appropriate to the circumstances by whistling tunelessly across the hills at sunset or by email, whichever is quicker. Your continued use of poetry after we make the changes is your consent to the changes that we've made. Change is inevitable. Change is the only constant. Time is a flat circle. The futility of the human condition may void your money-back guarantee. Please Read poetry carefully. For best results, use at least twice a week or as directed by Roger McGough. Please keep poetry in a locked metal box when not in use. If poetry is spilled, wash the affected area immediately with warm soapy water and seek advice from your local poetry collective. If poetry is ingested, do not induce vomiting. Call Roger, he'll know what to do. Warning, poetry may be corrosive to prejudice, can cause severe damage to toxic worldviews, and has been known to burn clean through preconceptions. Please do not leave poetry unattended overnight. Air your poetry as often as possible. Please click your fingers to agree with these terms and conditions. And please keep poetry within reach of everyone. Thank you. Oh, goodness. I'm really glad we got that out of the way, guys. I've got two long poems for you. So that was the first one, and this is my final one. So I figured we could all do with some heterosexual nonsense. So I hope you'll indulge me that. I don't know if you've ever read certain magazines aimed at cis women. You might be aware of these lists of sex tips in certain types of magazine. 10 ways to please your man, 20 ways to please your man, 100 ways to please your man, 5 million ways to please your man. This poem is my response to those magazines. There's a slight content note here for mentions of sex and also for germphobes. 7 ways to please your man. 1. Film yourself doing something really naughty, like stealing your neighbour's newspaper off their front porch, taking stationery from the office supplies cupboard at work, or shoplifting spanners from B&Q. Your man loves it when you don't pay for your tools, you naughty, naughty girl. 2. Show him you are adventurous. Run out into oncoming traffic. Set up an amateur knife juggling club at your local further education college. Disappear for weeks on end without telling anyone where you are. Taunt a rabid dog. Your man won't be able to resist your devil-may-care attitude. 3. Dress up for him. Try something a bit different and consider impersonating Franz Ferdinand Karl Ludwig Joseph Maria, the Archduke of Austria and Royal Prince of Hungary and Bohemia, whose assassination in 1914 led to the outbreak of the First World War. After all, men love powerful women, and the false mustache will bring some extra sensory pleasure to the bedroom too. 4. Talk dirty to him. Tell him that there are over 100 million microbes on your toothbrush and even more on the underside of your feet. Tell him that over 2.3 billion people across the world don't have access to a flushing toilet, and that even if they did, over 3 million bacteria per square inch lurk in the average toilet bowl. Tell him you think he's sexy, despite the fact his body has over 39 trillion bacteria living on it at any one time. Men love receiving compliments. 5. Use your hands. Have a go at shadow puppetry. Popular shadows include the duck, the dog, and the butterfly. But if you want to get really kinky, why not try the robust alligator, the reluctant axolotl, or the engorged badger? Trust me, your man will thank you for it. 6. Try a new position. Consider becoming a communist, examining capitalism through a paradigm of exploitation and theorizing that class conflict primarily arises from the fundamental imbalance between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. After all, it pays to be open-minded when it comes to pleasing your man. And when you seize the means of production, he'll give you anything you want. 7. Try new things. Never repeat yourself. Never repeat yourself. Never repeat yourself. Live up to unrealistic standards of heteronormative sexual gratification. Read lists in shitty magazines and follow them as if they were gospel. Try new things. Never repeat yourself. Or you could just talk to him and ask him what he likes. Just a thought. Thank you.
Oh, I love it so much. Oh, thank you, Leanne. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, yeah, no, I can never get enough of your poetry. I will book you forever. Forever and forever and forever. Moving on, next poet. Robert Garnham has been performing LGBT comedy poetry around the UK for over 10 years at various fringes and festivals, and has had 3 collections published by Burning Eye. He made a TV advert for a bank, and a joke from his show Juicy did well at the Edinburgh Fringe. Please welcome Robert Garnham.
Oh, thank you so much. I just love the introductions there. There's so much energy. I'm going to start with a fairly serious poem. It's got a content warning for homophobia. So, but it is a comedy one. So here we go. To the car full of youths who shouted "poof" at me. Of course, it might have been a lucky guess, though I held high in the Scottish drizzle a rainbow unicorn umbrella, which even I concede was a little camp. Or maybe my pink feather boa was showing, poking out from my Tesco's bag for life. Or maybe they were just nasty bastards. It wasn't like I was gawping at a fit bloke, or wearing my I like cock t-shirt, or waving my Grindr app around and shouting, "Where are you, funky love muffin? Cooey!" I was on my way to buy a steak and kidney pie, and you can't get any straighter than that. As the car sped away, I felt the loving embrace of the generations who couldn't, but did anyway. Souls whose crime was to love, and love fiercely and with passion this thought, and my rainbow unicorn umbrella adding some glitz to a drizzly Tuesday morning. What was it that gave the game away? Did I flounce? Did I strut? Did I sashay? Does it matter? No glitter in the drizzle, no secret street sequins. I've been out and proud, but not so loud since before you were born. Gayer than the gayest gay who ever did gay, though I do occasionally wear an anorak. Like phantoms they come, Alan Turing, Oscar Wilde, Freddie Mercury, Frank O'Hara, their ghosts swirling along the Edinburgh cobbles, Bert and Ernie from Sesame Street, and the anonymous lovers of old, proudly flying the flag before it even existed, beating down the fear and marching brave, Stonewall freedom fighters, Harvey Milk, a fist raised, triumphant in the oneness of a gay new world, that those for whom nature had different ideas might walk unmolested in the conscience of public acceptance. And I, oh, I might rise before you. You will cower and tremble as I, mighty gay overlord, will crush thy fiat panda betwixt my chubby thighs. For it is I, Prince of Rainbow, puncher of preconceptions, the pink avenger, exacting my just and fearful revenge in the name of blessed queerdom. But then I just sigh and I say to myself, some people are just tossers. Well, thank you. That was my first little poem there. I'm going to do 3 poems. And this next one is also from my new book, Yay, which is from Burning Eye. And obviously I recommend it. It's called Home Delivery Man. Home delivery man, home delivery van, cubicle of light in the night. Rattle those crates, those great crates, cheese in the crates, cheese, greater crates. Don't bang your head on the door, love. You're a high-vis whiz and you mean biz. You know what's what and you know what is. With that giant face of a man painted on the side of your van. The man on your van grinning at some broccoli on a fork. Imagine being a model. Your career's going down the pan, just about done. No more yachts, just a call from your agent. Hello, can you grin at some broccoli on a fork and we'll put you on the side of a home delivery van. Rattle those crates, you bastard. My God, what have my neighbours been ordering now? Open the net curtains just a crack. Is that couscous or is that not couscous? Never had much of a sense of hummus. Home delivery man, home delivery van. This whole road is a cavalcade of wankers, but your rippling biceps make a mockery of the afternoon. Did you see me peering round the net curtains? Came back from the toilet. Jesus Christ, there's a freakishly big head at the end of my garden path. Oh, it's just the man painted on the side of your van, grinning at some broccoli on a fork. Home delivery man, home delivery van. Is that a 2-litre bottle of Vimto or are you just pleased to see me? Would you like to pop inside for an impromptu karaoke session? My mate Brian sang a cappella with the door-to-door chiropodist. I got the mic set up and a Spandau Ballet backing track. Come back, home delivery man, come back. Well, thank you very much. That was the second one. And I've just got one more for you. And anyway, when I was writing this last poem, I was thinking about superheroes and what kind of powers I'd have if I was a superhero. And there's only 2 things I'm really good at. Number 1, I can always tell when the vacuum cleaner bag is full. Number 2, I can always spot somebody with a beard. Beards make me really envious, and that's what this poem's all about. And Tyrone Lewis said he's got a cracker of a beard. I really like it. So this poem is just called Poem. I've always wanted a beard, just never had the time to grow one. Whenever I see them, I get a strange feeling inside of deep inadequacy. I want a beard just like Tyrone Lewis has got. I like the cut of his jib, beardy man. How lucky you are. Chinny chin chin keeps tickling while kissing. Probably. I went to the barber and I said, give me a beard, good man, and make it a big bushy one, like I'm an old grizzled trawlerman. Here's a Pritt stick. Now sweep up the floor and stick it on my chin. There's a good fellow. It fell off when I was halfway round Lidl's. Last night I sat in envy at the annual beard competition. It was won by a geography teacher whose beard looked like 2 ferret-shaped sideburns mating while a badger-shaped moustache hid in the rhododendrons and took photos. I saw a man in the pub with a beard, and his friend had a beard, and their dog had a beard, and the barman had a beard, and the barman said, what would you like? And I said, a beard. And the barman said I was weird, so I had an apple and raspberry J2O. I can't look at a goat. I hate the way they gloat with their nanny goat, billy goat, beard, unwarranted goatee, sprout, stroke it, big boy. I went to the circus and I saw a beard tamer cracking his whip, beard tamer cracking his whip, beard tamer. Pass me a razor, stay there, cutting them down into very, very, very long sideburns. If I had a beard, I'd dip the end in chocolate sauce and draw crazy patterns on your smooth, bare chest, whispering, growl for me, growl for your lover man, growl like a tiger, you sexed up beast of a man, which would probably startle the other people on the bus. If I had a beard, it would have to be bioengineered. Fuzzy, fuzzy, chin scratch, scrunch up, feel it, go on, put your hand here and feel it. Oh. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely Oh, cheek achingly great as always. Thank you so much. Oh, everyone, please show your love for the Professor of Whimsy in the chat. As we move on to our last open mic performer. I say open mic, it's really not. Camille McCawley's debut chapbook will be released by Bearded Badger Publishing in October 2021. She is featured at numerous events and supported Matt Abbott, Joelle Taylor, and many more. She was commissioned by Apples and Snakes and is champion of Slam of the North and Derby Poetry Festival Slam 2019. Please welcome Camille McCawley.
So my first poem is called The Scorpion. In a remote Costa Rican fishing village, I drift off to the thudding of cicadas colliding with light, beetles crawling under door crack, mosquito gangs out for blood. In England, I don't mind the critters taking refuge. Spiders web ceiling corners. Sheila the mouse resides in walls. I'd rather keep the small warm than let them face the elements. But here, when I wake to crawling in my bed sheets, I jump like a cartoon villain, whack the thing to the floor, and before I know it, I flip-flopped a scorpion to death. Thanks. So my next one, I'm going to take you over to New Zealand. It's called Mungafai. So when I lived in New Zealand, I lived there for a couple of years in Auckland. I had a pretty shit time, to be honest. The country is beautiful, people are lovely. I just happened to have a bit of a shit time. So this is a poem about me trying to deal with it, basically. Okay. Fed up of sitting dormant, I shove my legs into compression tights, double knot laces, and leave the house for the first time in weeks. At the base of Mount Eden, I muster the strength to move through its shadows, pounding against the hard ground, circling the verge of the volcano. The higher I climb, the steeper the surface. I envision eruption, force feet to continue to the top without stopping. Muscles turn to magma, skin is scorier red, blood pulses veins close to bursting. With great effort, I reach the summit. Molten body explodes across Auckland skyline into the South Pacific. Thanks. I want to go really loud with that one, but my baby nephew's in the next room sleeping, so I didn't want to wake him up. But I've never been a runner, but that really helped in Auckland, just getting out and just pounding through the pain. But I say that, but now I'm currently training for a marathon in a couple of weeks, and it's just pain. It's just pain. Anyway, I'm going to move on from Costa Rica to New Zealand, now over to Sheffield. I've got a couple of poems that are two-part. The first one's called Sunflowers and Chili Seeds. Our first home together. You buy a greenhouse before unpacking belongings. I don't see the sense in living in mess, but we begin by filling the propagator with habanero chili seeds, pride of place on the bedroom windowsill. You charge me with the care of sunflowers, despite my plant killer reputation. As they grow, we smile, surprised life could be so simple. We repot sprouts on the dining room table in a sea of cardboard boxes and a blank canvas backdrop, shoveling compost haphazardly. You transport 4 pots to the greenhouse, turning the small grey jungle into a plastic patio, turning the small grey garden into a plastic patio jungle. We collect jars to store chilies in. For weeks, the shelves are full with empty vessels of ambition. In waiting, we tidy our things. Books backdrop the living room. Drum kit fills the bay window. Polaroid portrait on the mantel. Once all the boxes are empty, the glass windows are stained with sun yellow, and the jars on the wall are packed with bright red and green. Thanks. So this next one is Sunflower and Chili Seeds Reprise, which is like the music terminology for part 2, basically. Okay. Boxes scattered. We dance around unpacked bags in opposite corners of the same room, bumping shoulders as day breaks. Mud pots fill the shelves. Small green sprouts in place of photo frames. Our tongues are worms buried in compressed compost. Songs beat to different rhythms. Vocal cords gather resentment. I struggle to be present in your presence, but I recognize we are only human. Retreating to closed lips, we listen to the radio sing. A melody reminds me of tenderness. One hand clasps yours while the other loosens earth from the nearest pot, making sure a little thing like silence doesn't suffocate us. Thanks. Ugh, it's just so important to talk, isn't it? Like, things can get so hard, but until you open up, it just welling, well, for me anyway, welling up in my brain, it just doesn't go to a good place. So, but I completely recognize talking about shit is not that easy. You don't just be like, yeah, I'm having a shit day. When you're in a shit mood, the last thing you want to do is have to talk to anyone, unless you've had some alcohol. So this one's to anyone that needs a drink or two to be able to open up. This one's called Whiskey Relief. I want nothing less than your heart, poured out across the table, across a table at 3 a.m. in a bar soaked in beer. Let the whiskey ease the tongue. I need to see how you struggle in daily life. This world forces a silence on our throats, prevents us from being honest. Roll the truth around edges of lips like it's the ice melting on the rim of our glasses. Taste the relief it gives as honey and vanilla soak oak wood. I read that wine should be stored horizontally, but whiskey stands upright and proud. And you're whiskey. Peat-free, high ABV, vintage cask, a humble, sweet, Speyside Braveheart. On the soggy bar mat, soaking up all the stickiness, I don't wring myself out anywhere near enough. But I know how hard it is. So I'll do my best to open up in the times that you can't. Hoping if I do it for you, you'll do it for someone else and they for another until the whole world is distilled. But until then, I'll be waiting patiently at the end of the bar with my credit card, ready to buy the biggest bottle of the best single malt. Don't we deserve the top shelf every time? Thanks. That's it. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Thanks for bearing with me.
Thank you so much, Camille. That was absolutely stunning. Absolutely. I'm running out of words. I can't. I only have a set number of compliments and I've gone through them all, so I might have to rehash a few. But oh my God, you are an absolute star. Thank you very much. This is it, everyone. Got to get this right. Joelle Taylor is the author of 4 collections of poetry. Her newest collection, Cunto and Other Poems, was the subject of a Radio 4 arts documentary, Butch. She is a co-curator and host of Outspoken Live, resident at South Park Centre, and the current editor of Outspoken Press. She is absolutely unparalleled. She is in a division all of her own. And she is the person I've wanted to book at a gig since I first learnt what spoken word poetry was. Give it up for Joelle Taylor!
Jeez! Wow, 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 wow. That is literally, Crow, that is the best intro I've ever had in my entire life. Oh my God. I might have to get you to send me a recording of that. It's going to be my ringtone when I get up in the morning. Joelle Taylor. Anyway, hello everyone. What an absolutely incredible night. what a marvelous thing, Rod, that you have done, and your friends. That's quite patronising, is it? The organisers, the promoters of this event. I don't know if you're aware of it, but I'm at a festival at the moment in Manchester. So this is a hotel room. It's the Ripples of Hope Festival, which has been organised by Simon Armitage, and we've all written poems in response to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But I really, really wanted, when Crow asked, to do this event because I believe that spoken word is the last free art, and that we all have to put as much energy into it as we can. So for me, the absolute heart of the spoken word gig is literally what we've just seen. I cried laughing at Laura Graham, like I really lost my shit with my vagina looks like a bat, which is my motto now. Robert Garnham, just so extraordinary poetry. All of you, the imagery Camille was using and Jay Mitra, all of you are just stunning. Anyway, I'll stop rambling in a hotel room because the more I talk, the further away I am from an alcoholic drink. So like Crow said, I've written a new book. It's called Canto and Other Poems, and it's in gold for gold stuff. It's a part memoir and part conjecture, and it relates to really a huge part of my life story. So I'll begin it by saying back in the 80s, we didn't used to come out, not in the way we do these days. We came out, but the out was the important word. You literally were ostracized from your families. And I never had contact with my father again after coming out. I left my whole family. These are the choices we had to make. So in the late 80s, early 90s, there was this kind of mass migration of homosexuals and lesbianos who moved down to London, and part of my scene, the dyke scene, we became the rebel dykes, and I was sort of part of that. It's another story. But I wanted to write this book about a particular group of women, the butch women that I identify as butch. For me, butch is not being masculine or like a man. It just means freedom. That's all it means to me, or escape. And it's the true story of some of my friends who have passed now. But it's a book of celebration too. Anyway, I'll shut up. The book begins when a series of vitrines, which are museum display cases, appear at different locations around London and the UK, outside all the old queer spaces, so the cruising grounds, the squats, the roughs, the clubs, and inside each vitrine, which are various in sizes, really big to very, very small, are things like My First Kiss, or the night the Admiral Duncan blew up. I was around the corner in Wardour Street, and a lot of my friends were on the street at the time, was lots of dyke careers. Basically, anyway, it's another story as well. So inside is all the things from history I want to preserve. It's all about preserving history. And in a very, very small vitrine, the size of a snow globe, is a boxing ring. And the boxing ring is roped off with barbed wire. And there's an older butch woman in one corner wearing a pair of boxer shorts and a white vest, and in the other corner is hanging a three-piece Donegal tweed suit, and throughout the piece I slowly get dressed. I should say I'm giving you the book version, but it was a live show to begin with. So I want to do the poem. It's a series of cantos, hence the name Canto, about my experiences growing up as a butch dyke. And it responds to Apples and Snakes, who commissioned this around the theme of protest. Canto. Some girls fall from sunlit skies straight down into flat pack floral dresses, grab their smiles from a hook behind the door, rescue their faces from riptides of mirrors. Some girls are always falling. Round one, the body as battleground. You fall and miss your body entirely, land somewhere in enemy territory behind the lines. Your body, a foreign country you cannot get a visa for. Your skin, a parachute caught in tree branches. You awaken in no man's land. Gunfire from over the horizon, and women are crucified on hashtags across the dark hills. Your trench is crowded with dead women wearing faces that try to escape them and the clothes of someone you once knew. There are landmines buried deep beneath your skin, and no one understands them. In between the battle cry and the bedroom is this sticky quiet, this no man's land. And this is where you live. Men explode when you least expect it. All these lifetimes searching for body. Round 2, the body as protest. Born backward, bright back and wide, skin rolling cigarettes and shirt sleeves, skyline chin, Levi 501s curled up to cuff, lip the same, white t-shirt so they can project themselves on you, and tsunami and black boots whose roots spread and tangle through the center of the earth. You don't wear makeup to prove you have not made anything up. This is your face. Your father's friends gave it to you one Christmas Eve, 1973. You unwrapped it beneath a decorated tree from which the rest of your family hung. They sipped cocktails as you slowly disappeared, swaying gently to that wail of celebration, the harbinger of party. You cut your first suit from the thick silence when you enter a room. They call you Butch, the name derived from Butch Cassidy. You are the descendant of outlaws, irony incarnate, woman butchered, cut into select meats, a middle distance stare, breast, shoulder, wild tongue. They fear you. Boy, bois, dyke, diesel female, sodomite, lady, faggot, bulldyke, bulldagger, queer, pervert, gold star, silverback, stud, invert, kicky, she-male, drag drone, baby butch, tomboy, stone. But if you are a stone, you are a chip off the mountain, and you join an avalanche of wrong walking women, shaven heads like tumbling rocks. You keep them close, they are rosary. On the dance floor, we are tidal, heckle the night, passing nods between us, handshakes that stop our hands shaking. We are untamed, a wilderness of women. We are waste ground. What a waste, love. Nothing grows on us, barren and sterile, an unuseful female, empty as church pews. The wind rattles its fists inside our wounds. Come on then, snake boy. Come on then, heretic healer. Where are the maths that solve us? How do we fit into your algae bra, your binary code? Our bodies are political placards, and we dance as demonstration. You do not own us. It is revolution in the living room, uprising in the public toilets, insurgency in the suburbs. Fear us. I told you to. Not camp enough to be your best friend, bruv. A woman without makeup is a woman without a face. Who knew that when we were cleansing, we were erasing our whole existence? Round 3, the body as trespass. Dyke, you are a trespasser in your own body. The landowners are men who pass you in the street. In Accrington, cars stammer and words ejaculate from half-open windows. Your mother's phone rings in the middle of the night. Shh, do you know about 3 Pentecosts with Nazi insignia break into your home? God's an atheist who no longer believes in himself, and they unscrew the light bulb, slowly, eyes fixed on the unmade up girl, trembling defiance, they whisper a prayer for you to leave your family. You do. 13, and a man pulls you over the back seat of a bus and stubs his kiss out on your cheek, slowly, a boxer's embrace, but he never throws the punch. He posts it. You wait by letterboxes, flinch when it chatters, never answer the phone. In Brixton, men cradle their fists like babies and watch as you walk past as though they are thin, red cats in the undergrowth, and you, a small, shaven-headed bird. There's a reason that women are compared to birds, and it's got to do with wings. Some songs harden on the wind. Some girls are kept in gilded cages on suburban mantelpieces. 18, out clubbing with the crew, a baby butch in the abattoir of beauty, the quiver and frantic, white girls with bindis, white boys with dreadlocks, saris and docks. We are the modern primitives, tribal tattoos, heritage worn like white flags, like cowardice, and you dance as though you are stamping out fires, as though your boots are hammering in the last nails to the coffin of the old gods. Strangers hug and tell each other's secrets. You are ecstatic. But then the light looks away. Skinny wolves separate you from the flock. Wallpaper, the drugs, no longer working as they amber you. Aberration, and they must conquer what they cannot name. 23, and you finish rehearsals in the city with nowhere to sleep. So you wish the posh kids good night, and you walk, and you walk, and you walk, and you walk, and he finds you quickly, and when you come round, you are empty, and his eyes are full, and above you, twin gods, and he slips into small boy sleep, thumb slotted in jukebox mouth, and this is the first time you think you're going to be killed, and when you're not, it's a disappointment. The morning after pill is a communion wafer, and you are forgiven your trespasses. You learn quickly. Men are broken things, breaking things. Round 4, the body as cemetery. The first time you die, you drink a bottle of cleaning fluid, and moths of nurses wrap you in white swaddling curses. You, they whisper, a back alley lullaby. Fuck you, they croon, as you're interred into your hospital bed. And when the mourners come, they seem happy. A picnic in a mortuary. The third time you die, it is classic, cinematic. A bottle of your mother's sleeping pills, you swallow them without water, watching a film about a girl who is not loved. The film ends, the cinema empties, but no one notices. The thin thing lying there, mouth like an earthquake in a country no one can spell. They don't find you till morning, and when they do, you are packed off to the fat priests of psychiatry to apologize. You lie, and your smile is a torn cunt, a split. Round 5. The body as backroom. Each night, we have a lock-in and meet at the back of my heart. Smoking in circles, handing grins between us like pass the parcel, opening each layer of the smile until the pith is revealed. We are ferocious women, eating our children. Are you stepping out of our skins and leaving them draped behind us like soiled wedding dresses as we fall into each other's mouths? This is love. Furious love. We die slowly, cigarettes stubbed against obsidian skies. The brain explodes into night butterflies. A car loses its grip on reality, suicides by the bouquet full. Not one of my friends was allowed to live in her body unaccompanied. Always a landlord, always a lodger. Round 6, the body as haunted house. In sleep, my body is a haunted house. There are footsteps along fallopian corridors. The corridor is a rope strung across a mouth. I have been woken by blurred voices without bodies, quiet arguments in my basement. Once I was possessed by a small girl who looked the same as me, who self-murdered on a Sunday afternoon while her parents were downstairs hardwiring their hangovers and Christmas tunes played in nooses. My heart is a church bell and nobody visits, and God is a man with his hands in his pockets, watching. Round 7. The body as uprising. Oh, you bayonet boys, you truncheon rub. My face doesn't fit my face, but your fist does. Years from now, no one will remember how we fought, how each bruised knuckle was a white boy's head bent in prayer. No one will remember the love, how alike it is to rage, how screams made corporeal are rainbows, or how rainbows became corporate logos, or how we carved our epitaphs into a stone wall. No one will remember unpicking acronyms by candlelight, so fuck it. I'll be in the back bar of heaven. Gaz will be getting a rounding and releasing that laugh. Wild birds escaping her mouth, and none of this will matter. I'll be riding the ghost roads with Avi, bareback, knee clench on her Harley. I'll be stretching the skins with Sam Sylvan. How do we ever get so old, friend? So silver backs. I'll be scoffing the city with Dudzilli. Men will stare like open shaft mines. I'll be walking the white lines with Tony, tight mouth, antelope heart. I can't remember the names of all my dead friends. They're here now. Our grief, a leather jacket, our laughter, static as we fade to a sepia, the color of blood mixed to water disappearing down a plug hole, much like the meeting of our legs. Remember this. My whole life is a protest. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks so much for listening today. I hope you'll get a copy of Canto and connect with it and find your community there. And I dearly want us all to get off social media, because during this tour I've hit all the queer venues and I'm telling you, we're not at war. We're not at war. And yeah, it's my dearest wish that we all join together, because dark things are coming. So Canto is for Poland, it's for Ghana, it's for Uganda, it's for Russia, it's for the Ukraine, it's for the ever creeping tide, it's for fucking Chechnya. So all of you, please take care of yourselves, love each other, and thank you, Crow and Sad Poet Doorstep Club, for having me. Cheers, man. Thank you. The end. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for that, Joelle. Oh my God. I am a poet and I don't know what to say. Oh, just read all of the love in chat, honestly. It's... Yeah, that's one of my poetry goals achieved. I got to yell Joelle Taylor's name at her. Thank you so much, Joelle. Thank you so much, Tyrone. Thank you so much, every performer. Thank you, Chris, for running tech. Thank you, everyone that's come to listen and has been moved and is hopefully going to be buying those books. Thank you, everyone. And that brings Sad Poets Doorstep Club to a close. Yeah, I have no more words. Just thank you. Thank you a million times. Have a great night.